Hello and welcome to Let Me Bore You to Sleep. My name is Jason Newland and please only listen when you can safely close your eyes. Now, I'm making a video of this today, which is something that probably didn't need to be explained if you're watching the video, because you can see that I'm making a video. But that was more for people listening to the podcast who didn't know that I was making a video of the podcast whilst making the podcast, instead of just recording the podcast as an audio only. Because otherwise, how would the people listening just to the podcast know that it was a video? However, the people watching the video don't need to hear that bit. So I kind of could have left it out. But, sometimes, just, it is what it is. Biddy bee boo. Yeah, I don't normally. The problem with making videos is I do podcasts, audio only. Do you remember the days when podcasts it actually meant audio? Now podcasts can mean video as well. Never used to. And now vlogging, people don't use the word vlog anymore, it's just blog. Even if it's a video. Never used to. So, I don't know, it's all changed. Just the same as LOL. Used to mean lots of love, not laugh out loud. But some of the older generation, perhaps a little bit older than me, in the early days of the internet, the early days of mobile phones and text speech, I remember I had a message from a friend of mine when my nan passed away, and he said, sorry to hear the sad news about your nan. Hope you're okay. LOL. I was like, you're laughing out loud at my nan? And then I thought, oh, wait a minute. This is someone that's 20 years older than me. Maybe not 20 years older than me. Probably 15 years older than me. Maybe 12 or 13 years older than me. Not really that relevant. I think I was 38 when he was 50. Roughly. And then that would have been... He'd have been about 57 when he sent that text. Probably too specific, too much information, potentially. I don't know, but Vinny's in the background eating his bone. That means he's eating his bone for whatever reason. I don't know where that came from. I just saw something. What is that? A sock. A chocolate wrapper, which is weird because I don't wear socks. I eat them though. No, I don't. Why is there a sock? Why is there a sock? Oh, come on. If you found a sock on the floor, you wouldn't sniff it, no? Especially if it was your own sock. You wouldn't give it a little... Of course you would. Don't lie to me. Of course you'd sniff it. I sniff socks. That sounds wrong, doesn't it? I like sniffing underwear I can't find on the floor. Yeah, but there's one thing about, it's like there's a big difference between finding something on the floor and sneaking into people's bedrooms. That's a difference. So I'm going to go to bed in a minute. Yeah, I'm going to go to bed soon. It's Friday evening. It's about 10:30. And I'm probably going to go to bed when this is done, because it's the end of the day. I've been up since about 5 o'clock this morning. Bit tired. I've been trying, ever so trying, to give some energy to my Instagram account, because I really haven't done anything on there for years. And the stuff I did do was just... Well, I didn't really know what I was doing as far as how to upload a video and how to, the format and all that stuff. So what I did... I've only got I've got 191 followers now. I had 190. And weirdly enough, even though I've not been active at all and I've not put any effort into Instagram, I had quite a few really nice messages from people that have watched my stuff and listened to my podcasts over the years. I can't read them to you because I don't have access to them right now because of the equipment I'm using right now. But it was quite nice, and I thought, because I was just looking around thinking, maybe if I started to get back to basics and, sharing my stuff on social media, like Facebook and Twitter, or X. Is it now called X? Is it Twitter? Is it X? I don't know. And then, I thought X was the company that owned... I thought X was the company that owned all of Elon Musk's companies. I thought that was like the parent company, the same way as Meta is the parent company of Facebook, and Facebook owns and they also own Instagram as well, and other... Do they Snapchat as well, possibly? As well as AI stuff. So I thought, okay, let's have a little look at Instagram. Let's, it's only been around for about 100 years. Let's have a little look. And I think part of the reason why I never bothered with Instagram or any of the newer social media apps is because they were aimed at a younger audience, which is a good thing, because Facebook was originally aimed at an earlier, a young audience, and then the older audience kind of came and took it over. But I know from what I've seen that a lot of kids or people like 13, 14-year-olds. So I think you have to be 13 to be on Facebook. Some kids didn't want their parents to see what they were posting, and so they kind of left. As soon as their parents joined Facebook, they left and went to a different one, Instagram or whatever. That's kind of my understanding. I don't know, because all I know is that when my dad joined Facebook, I left because I didn't want him snooping on me. I thought, Dad, I'm 36 years old. Not now, but that's when Facebook was around, when it first started. I'm 36. Can you just please just stop snooping on me? I don't want you to know what I'm doing. My friends are my friends. Why are you friending my friends? Do you remember Friendster? Yeah, I vaguely remember. It was almost like a Facebook / dating thing, I think. I joined every single site that there was. There was even one which was aimed at African American community in America. Like there was, I can't remember the name of it. This is genuine. It was the site. I joined that and had loads of friends on there, and I shared my videos, my podcasts on there. This is probably around the time of MySpace, Facebook just coming in. Trying to think of some other ones that were around at the time, and they might still be around, but just not around in the same way as what they was back then. Because Facebook and MySpace were not the only ones. There was quite a few, all popped up at the same time, and Facebook was the one that survived. They won that particular battle, and then of course others came along. What's the one that, because you obviously got TikTok now. I'm not on TikTok, but I'm thinking of joining, but just to share my stuff, because I started to realise that because now I'm such an old, wizardly old man, that maybe my recordings, my videos, my audios might actually, there's no age group really that I aim at when it comes to like a relaxation session or pain relief session or a sleep session, or even these Let Me Bore You to Sleep. They're not aimed at a particular age group. So it doesn't matter if you're 17 or 22, it's fine. If you're 92, 133, 133, not 133, 133, then it shouldn't really, not really, make too much of a difference. And I think that's where the benefit comes from being audio only, because there's no age to a voice. And there is. No one's going to listen to me on the podcast and think, I wonder if that's a 3-year-old. Mentally, possibly. But, the voice isn't, I don't sound like I'm 3. But at the same time, I might not sound the age that I am, which is actually 69. So, and that changes hourly. So to me, it doesn't really matter, things like age and that, but although I'd say probably these days the people that do contact me are generally not old, but kind of more maybe middle-aged-ish, perhaps. Sort of, I've got to be careful how I word this, haven't I? Maybe not as old as me, but sort of, 30 plus. Not that 30 is middle-aged, but, And I know that I've had people in their 80s, 70s listen to me. But I also know I've had children listen. And they've sent me messages saying, thank you for helping me get through my exams at school. Or sometimes they don't tell me until afterwards. So on Instagram, I had a message. I can't remember it exactly, but this person, I think it's a lady, said, thank you for all you do, that I helped her through a very difficult period 11 years ago when she was at school. And now she's in her 40s. I guess, I don't know, can't really work out the years, but it's like, wow. I remember I had a message in about 2009. About 2009. So what's that? 14 years ago. And the message was basically, it was on, oh wow, this was on, what's that thing you used to be able to send messages, not texting, not emails, but the like groups and stuff. I forget what it was. But anyway, he sent me a message, and he was a kid as well, or like teenager, and he said, thank you for what you do, because you helped my mum for the last 6 months of her life with your listening to your recordings. And it's like, wow. It's just like, and then I think back, and I think back, and the recordings were such awful quality, not content wise, but quality of like the sound, the videos. The videos are really, really bad quality, and the sound was like really just awful. It's compared to now. I'm not saying the quality is great, because I don't know what it's going to sound like. But then thinking about it, maybe the fact that the video quality was so bad is why people watched, because they couldn't see my weird face, because it was all a bit like blurry and like thinking, oh, I bet he's normal looking, really. It's just the camera quality. Nope. I think the old saying is, I have a face for radio. Or instead of television, you've got a face for radio. Thank you very much. So, it's weird to think back to that time, and I have none of those recordings left. I have not access to pretty much. I do have access to a few hundred of my recordings from those times, but none of them are any good, like quality wise. If I could find a way to restore them, but I don't want to restore them, I want to improve them beyond what they were originally. And I've tried a few different software, apps, AI, and nothing's really worked to make it sound better. I have played around using the Adobe Audition. I kind of improved the quality of some sound on one of those recordings. But then it's a little bit like, oh, I spent so long doing it, I wasn't sure if I could trust my ears. I don't know why I'm pointing to my ears, because they're not exactly hiding from you. I need a shave. I'm thinking I'm going to shave my head tomorrow. I'm thinking of doing that. And just having a shave of everything. Shave everything off. Just be completely bald. I'll only be bald for a week or so before it starts growing back. The beard, I'll start having stubble and everything within a few days. So I'll only be like clean shaven for a few days. And my hair, after a couple of weeks, my hair kind of starts to grow back anyway. So I'm a bit like Mr. Potato Head. That's not the right one. There was a toy where you could squeeze it and the hair came out. Do you remember? It was like a gargoyle or a gremlin or something. That was it, a carrot head or something? That's me. Basically, it just starts to grow out of weird places. So yeah, maybe I'm being nostalgic about the old times. I'm not sure. Maybe. It's possible. It is possible, isn't it? Maybe. I'm not sure. I mean... maybe. It's just what kind of makes me ponder and wonder and think is, how was I able to help people with such terrible quality recordings? And as I said again, it wasn't the quality of the content. The content was, I think it was okay. I mean, from what people said. But the quality of the actual recordings was really bad. It was like, shh, you just hear me, hello, Mary had a little lamb. It was like that kind of, it wasn't quite that bad. Oh, well, relax now. Relax your legs. Yeah, okay. It wasn't like that, because that sounds like a horror movie. Yeah, that didn't happen. Why would I say that? But I do wonder, like, and then I'm thinking, my YouTube channel, my old YouTube channel, was doing all right, actually. You know, I was no Mr. Beast, just looked like one. I was not. It was growing. It was growing. It was. Until I deleted it in 2012, or was it 2013? So I had it since 2007. And I had about 3,000 subscribers, but they were really like involved subscribers, not just randomly just added me and then just ignored me. People would watch my videos and comment, and there was a real, it felt like I was being useful. And even though the quality wasn't very good, I still uploaded stuff, and I was getting messages from people, and I had one and then a few others, but one went for me viral. So it wasn't like millions of views, but I was getting a few hundred views per, make a recording, make a video, get a few hundred views maybe. and I'll do the next one, and it's I was happy with that because I'd be doing them every day. And then I did one and I got 100,000 views, and it's still on my podcast. It's on this YouTube channel. It's the very first video, Try and Stay Awake Hypnosis Challenge, and that was the first video that, I mean, I couldn't believe it was. I uploaded it. I put a bit of effort into making it, although it probably wouldn't show now, but I put a bit of effort into it. And I shared it on Facebook, lots of groups. And then I went to bed. And I woke up to thousands of video views of that video. And quite a few additional subscribers. And I was, whoa. And I could literally refresh the page and I'd have a few more people having viewed the video. I never had that before. It was like, wow, this is amazing. So I know that in today's world, it's not a lot, a few thousands, nothing. But to me, it still is a lot to me because I don't get many views. I've had this YouTube channel for 5 years and I've put very little effort into it. The YouTube channel that I currently got. It's only been lately, the last year or so, that I've put a bit of effort into it. And now there's, I think, nearly 600 videos. And they're all pretty much all good quality. Pretty much. Not a huge amount of footage of me, but like videos of podcasts with, swirling backgrounds and spiral looping, whatever, countryside, and then podcast, my voice and some music playing. By the way, if you are watching this and you've seen an advert on YouTube, you shouldn't, because there's no adverts on it. And the date of this is early August 2023. Now, if you're watching this in 2027, then there may well be an advert, but it still will only be at the very beginning. There will not be adverts. There will not be adverts in the middle nor the end. Just the very beginning. Because this is a boring recording with the hope that, or the opportunity for you to relax and to let go and maybe to fall asleep. So it's kind of up to you, really. There'll also be, I will probably make a 10-hour version of this as well, but then there will be a black screen after a certain point. I don't know. I've been doing that with my YouTube videos. I've been not remaking, because I've got 10-hour versions of the podcasts already. So I'm making videos 10 hours long, and then having the video, then cutting off after 5 minutes, so it just goes to a dark screen, for the next 9 hours and 55 minutes. And part of the reason for that is because someone asked me. They said they couldn't really watch me or listen to me on YouTube because the screen was too bright when they were in bed. And then I searched on YouTube and I saw that other people were doing a similar thing. Not what I'm doing, but maybe doing sounds of a meadow, or sounds of thunder, sounds of the rain against a tent, things like that, and then with a dark screen for the whole thing, or once the introduction's done. And I thought, I'll give that a go. I'll give it a go. I'll see what happens. And I've had about 3 people watch the videos. It's great. I'm so pleased. You never know. People might... someone might like what I do one day. It's only been 17 and a half years. Maybe one day. Anybody want a sock? Lovely. Smells lovely. So I just think back sometimes like, I was a young man back then. Very young man. 36 years old. In fact, I was 35 when I first started making audios and stuff like that, videos on MySpace in 2006, and putting stuff on my website. I was 35 years old, because it was 2006 and I wasn't 36 until the end of August, and now I will be 53 at the end of August, which is this month. So in, I don't know, a week's time or 10 days or whatever, I will be 53. So I was 35 rather. I was 35, now I'm 53. Wow. And it's weird because even when I was 35, I felt old. I felt like I was ancient. And it turns out I wasn't. I was just 35. And that's one of the problems, because when I moved from London, when I was 31, I moved from being around just, I don't know, I felt young. I just felt young. I didn't feel old, I felt young. And I went from there to working in a call centre surrounded by really young people. Some teenagers, 17, 18, just left school. Even my boss, my supervisor, was 22 years old. I was like, what? 22? What the heck? Yeah, 22. And I just suddenly aged. Overnight, I aged. And before I moved, I was young. I was, things just, I was a young man. It's weird. But the reality is, I was young when I was 35. I was young when I was 40. Kind of. I mean, look, it's grey. Well, it's not even grey, it's white. I've got a grey beard. And I never had a grey beard before. Well, I had one yesterday, and the day before, and probably the last few months, last few years maybe. I've had one for a while, but that's what I'm saying is, in the past, and then you can say, well, how far back do you want to go? What, go back to when you were 10? I didn't have a grey beard when I was 10. But I remember when I didn't have grey in my beard. I just realised when I said that, I can't remember. It's been so long, I can't actually remember. 30s, I guess. I don't think I had much in the way of grey in my beard in my 30s. And now I've reached my 70s, I look like Santa. but without his sack, you know, without a costume, or as he would say, the uniform. That was my impression. No one's ever heard him talk, have they? No one knows. Could have an accent. Technically, we've all got accents, haven't we, really? Everyone's got an accent. He could have a squeaky voice.
My name's Santa. Hello, everybody. Ho, ho, ho.
He could have a really deep voice, which I can't do because, unfortunately, I have no testosterone in my body. Estrogen, just estrogen. Ho, ho, ho. That's about as deep as I can get. Ho, ho. Oh, he's now licking out the bowl. He's licking. He's drinking out of the bowl. Vinny is. Bless him. He's not hassling me. He's had a good day today. He spent quite a few hours with his best friend, another dog. So he's got no reason to be moaning. But he does like to moan. He's a complainer. Complainer. I mean, like, constantly complaining. I want this, I want that. More. Oliver. I want more. Can I have more? More? Yes, more. Why did your voice changed? It's changed there from going more, and then you said more, and you said it differently in a different voice.
I don't know why.
It's changed again. Can't just stick to one voice.
I don't know, maybe.
Well, you know what that was about. One thing Vinny does, this is my little doggy. I would bring him up to say hello, but he's busy. He has other commitments. He's on the floor chewing something. All that is more important than... I'm just looking behind me. I wonder what that thing is behind me there. I don't know. Tired. So boxing's on tomorrow. So there's Anthony Joshua is fighting Robert Hellenius. And really, really strange. Now, I guess a few of you watching or listening to this may not be boxing fans. And that's fine. I think it's good to just like accept that we like different things. Do you remember when probably the biggest boxing match there's been in recent years would be the McGregor-Mayweather fight back in, was it 2019, on my birthday, funny enough. And it was hugely promoted, like proper promoted. And I remember seeing posts on Facebook and Twitter, posts from people saying things like, I don't understand it. Why do they want to punch each other? It makes no sense to me. It's like, so? It makes no sense to you. So? Do you think that somebody is now going to post a message that's going to help you explain help change your mind. No, of course they're not. It's just going to, either you're going to agree with them or you're going to disagree with them. You know, you're going to say something that you agree with, which is what you said, and say, yeah, you're right, it's silly. Or, it's not silly, it's really good. And you'll be going, no, it's wrong. I just told you, it's... And you get nowhere. It's absolutely pointless.
Why do they want to punch each other?
It's not that simple. It's not really about that. It's a sport. You know, it's... Why do people want to climb up a mountain? Why do people want to ski down a mountain? I mean, why do people want to surf in, 100-foot waves? That stuff is equally, if not more, dangerous. Maybe not long term, but if an accident happens, that's big. Speedboat racing, very dangerous. Motor racing, even footballers, you get kicked in the ghoulies with those football boots. It's like they're all... Boxing's not the only thing. Rugby, that's another one. That's like, they're proper... I mean, rugby's vicious. Australian football, or is it Australian rules football? Blimey, they just have a punch up. It's like, see, if you see someone, you can see that you can't always tell what they do. You can say, is that person a rugby player or a boxer or MMA, or do they do mixed martial arts? And you won't be able to tell, because they'll have, especially rugby players, they'll have cauliflower ears, perhaps, which a lot of MMA fighters have. They'll have the eyes, they'll have the nose and all that. Like, really just... They look like boxers, rugby players. Tough as old boots. Blimey. There was one of my favourite boxers when I was younger. What was his name? And I feel I'm doing him an injustice by not remembering his name. But I kind of don't care, because I know that I'm not doing him an injustice, because I remember him. I remember what he looked like. I remember his smile. I remember his boxing. I remember his fights. I remember a lot about him. Mason. James Mason. Not Jackie Mason. Gary Mason. He kind of lived in the shadow of Frank Bruno in the UK. In a sense of, Frank Bruno had fought for the world title at least 3 times before he eventually won it in 95. Gary Mason was coming up kind of like early 90s. Bruno had already fought for a world title in 86 and again in 1989. 89? Yeah, I think he fought Tyson in 89. That would make sense. Yeah. And Gary Mason was another heavyweight. He wasn't tall. I mean, he's taller. Everyone's taller than me. But he wasn't like super, like 6'7" tall, like a lot of the heavyweights are these days. but he was still probably 6'3", something like that. Big fella. And he knocked out pretty much everybody. And he was quiet. He was a quiet man. He didn't like shout and brag and everything like that. Nor did Bruno, Frank Bruno. Frank Bruno was he was a national hero. So Gary Mason never really stepped out of Frank's shadow because Frank was still very much in the limelight. But the TV channels used to show Gary Mason's fights, and he won, even though they weren't always super exciting, because sometimes they went on a distance, but he generally knocked people out. But people they were like, I don't know why the press gave him a bit of a hard time. I think it's because he wasn't Bruno. Because Frank Bruno was he had the charisma, and he was really good with the cameras, and I don't mean taking pictures of people, but he was good in front of the cameras, and he was, right from the early 80s, he was famous as a personality, as well as being, a boxer. So Gary Mason, he was my favourite heavyweight outside of, Bruno. And then Lennox Lewis came along, who was also English or British, but moved to Canada when he was a kid. So he won the Olympic gold medal for Canada. But he turned professional for England. So he represented England as a professional. So that was kind of the way he did it. Instead of, he could have so just as easily represented Canada as a professional boxer. He could have just carried on as he did with the Olympics. I'm not quite sure why, but he came to England. He was English. I guess he's got dual passport or whatever. And he couldn't win. He just couldn't win because it's all like he had a Canadian accent or American accent. He had. I know it's not in America, but to the English ear, he sounded American at the time. I think I never really used to hear much of Canada, like the accent difference, until probably the last 20 odd years that I've noticed. But there's a lot of similarities between the two accents. It's all North America, isn't it? Kind of. Is Canada classed as North America? Or shall I just stop talking now? I'll just stop talking now. Thank you very much. I don't want to upset any of my friends in Canada. So basically, Lennox Lewis, arguably one of the greatest heavyweights in history. Arguably. Now, you can never say one isn't, one is. Just can't, because they'd have to fight each other. You'd have to get Jack Dempsey, and you'd have to get Rocky Marciano and Ali and Cassius Clay. Although the same person, both fought differently. So, Cassius Clay was a lot quicker than Ali. And you got Foreman and Larry Holmes, Evander Holyfield, who did fight Lennox Lewis twice and lost. Or did he have a draw the first one, then lost the second one? Mike Tyson, he fought Mike Tyson and beat him. He never fought Riddick Bowe. Big Daddy, Riddick Bowe. So, and I think he beat Riddick Bowe in the Olympic final, I think. And Riddick Bowe was presenting America, and Lennox was presenting Canada. So Lennox won the Olympics. This is 1988, I think. 1988. And two of the probably the worst fights ever. I'm going back to Gary Mason. Gary Mason was winning that fight. Gary Mason fought Lennox Lewis. This is long before he won a title. Before Lewis won the world title. Because the problem with Lennox Lewis is the British public didn't see him as English or British for some reason, because he had a different accent, and because everyone loved Bruno, and Gary Mason was also kind of the second. So it's Bruno, then Gary Mason. There was no room for another heavyweight, because there wasn't 17 different belts back then. There was just 3. Still 3's too many. I think there should just be 1 belt. 1 belt per weight. But anyway, that's an argument for another time. So Gary Mason fought Lennox Lewis. It was Gary's last fight, and although Mason was winning, what he was hurting Lennox for a bit, and then Lennox started beating him up, and it was horrible. Really didn't enjoy watching it. So, I mean, part of the reason is because my TV was broken and I was watching them through binoculars through my neighbour's window. But so it's hard to keep track of what was going on. People kept getting up and walking around like, sit down, I can't see the telly. But he did the same thing with Bruno, Lennox Lewis, in Wales in 93, I think. Roughly. 92, 93. 93, I think. Anyway, they fought for the world title. Lennox Lewis had the world title. Bruno fought Lewis. And it was cold. Really cold. And Bruno was winning. He must have been ahead on points. He was hurting Lennox. He hurt him quite a few times in the fight. Like, shook him and everything. And I don't mean physically shook him, but, you know. He was ahead. He was more than ahead. He had a body, but you know what I mean. He was definitely ahead on, for me. I wasn't a judge, so maybe he wasn't, but I think he was. And then he had Lewis on the ropes, and I think he had Lewis hurt, and then Lewis threw a left, or well, it's going to be a left or a right, isn't it? Swung a shot, and it just clipped Frank Bruno, and that was it. He just stood there, and then Lewis started punching him, and it got stopped. So it's not fair to say a lucky punch, because it's not lucky. If you train for 12 weeks for a fight where you're going to be punching someone, then there's no such thing as a lucky punch, because that's what you're doing, isn't it? You're punching someone that you're planning to punch them. It's not like you're playing, I don't know, Scrabble, and suddenly you punch them. Well, that was a lucky punch. Although that doesn't really make sense, that scenario, does it? Ah, well. So Lennox Lewis is one of my favourite boxers of all time. Brilliant. But I also loved Frank Bruno, and I loved Gary Mason. I still love Frank Bruno. Gary Mason's not around anymore. But he became, when he stopped doing boxing, he became a rugby player professionally. And I just imagine, because there's a lot of tough guys on the rugby field that probably didn't feel quite so tough when they had, you know, a monster of a man like Gary Mason, who they knew could easily knock them out. So running at them, I mean, I just, there's the ball, Gary. No, you haven't got to run at me. There's the ball. It's there. Sure, I've got 3 balls. Have 3 of the balls. Have all of them. Have my pocket money. It's my lunch money. Take that. Do you want a new car? Have a car. I really like Gary. But anyway, that's enough about boxing. I think it's because boxing's on tomorrow, and there's 4 heavyweight fights. And that's rare to have that many heavyweight fights on one bill. So it's on tomorrow. Looking forward to it. It should be good. Should be really good. It's like oh, like corn on the cob. Good. Without the bits in the teeth. Or corn on the cob. Anyway, thank you for listening. Remember to be kind to yourself, because you deserve to be happy. Be gentle with yourself. Maybe do something nice for yourself today. Do something you enjoy. And I will speak to you again tomorrow. Lots of love. Bye. Bye 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 bye. Bye 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 bye.